I got sick in 2007 with a dilated cardiomyopathy from one day to another. I didn't know I was sick, and just about to finish college, I became sick. It went really fast. In a couple of weeks, I was going to the hospital and lost 16 kilos in 4 weeks. I had a weight about 65 kilos afterwards. I got so weak that they had to give me a HeartMate 2, a left ventricular assist device, if you guys know that system. And I had that for 20 months, yeah. In 2009, I had my heart transplantation, and I started trying to get back to an active lifestyle again. Been very active before, but during my time with the HeartMate, I was very weak after my first operation. Had a week in a respirator and paralyzed in the right side when I got out. Couldn't climb the stairs to the second floor, so I had no power at all, and it was a bit tough. Then in the waiting time, I gained a lot of weight and was just above 90 kilos. And when I suddenly got my heart, I started training and get back again. In the beginning, it was very hard. I kept trying, but to find the motivation and learn that I had to be patient about my fitness shape was very difficult. After the first year, I think I could run 2 kilometers. And some people said, "Oh, why you keep doing this? Why just accept that you can't do it?" But I wouldn't. I've been doing a lot of taekwondo before I got sick and had a lot of mental training, and I believe that it helped me really, really much during my time waiting for the heart, and also afterwards with my motivation and getting back to life. I want to start by showing a video. It's from 3 years after my transplantation. How I had a training session for about 30 minutes or something. I shorted it down to 4 minutes so you can see. In the bottom there will be sometimes there will be a time for how long the training session has been going, and my heart rate will also sometimes, so you can see how hard I trained just after those 3 years. We just started with a little warm-up. The sound in the video isn't that important, so you don't have to blow it out. This is about 8 minutes into the training, a heart rate at 180 beats per minute. Then we did some different exercises to train the coordination and speed. And even this looks like nothing. In a bit you'll see my heart rate is 170. It's more than 90% of my maximum heart rate. 18 minutes into the training. It's 180. It's more than 95% of my maximum heart rate. And if any of you have done any of these exercises, you know how hard they are. He's just talking about it's getting hard for me. And the breaks are almost done. Then we go again. I think we did 30 seconds work, 30 seconds break for those 4 minutes each exercise. I'm just telling that I reached my limit and just needed a break. And you can hear I can't speak. That was the last exercise.
He's laughing.
And now I'm done. I guess this was one of the training sessions I've been most exhausted of all time. I had to lie on the floor for about 15 minutes, not doing anything, just feeling sick. But as you can see, this was 3 years after my transplantation, and I believe it's really different from every patient or recipient how the heart works and what you're capable of. But I'm not into all the rehabilitation. You know that they in Denmark use the high intensity training with 4 minutes intervals, and that's how they do it with after the heart transplantation. But I believe I'm one of the only one in Denmark training this hard. My training for the Ironman, I had a heart rate minimum maximum at 62 when I was sleeping, my resting heart rate, and my maximum heart rate is about 190. So it's just like normal. They think, they believe that the innovation to the heart is there again, and they can't say who or how many it happens for and why it happens, if it's age or anything. I believe they say it happens to 6 to 8% of the heart patients. When I was doing my training, I started not always to focus on the heart rate, but use intensity zones instead, because I experienced that my heart rate wasn't always how I felt it was for the body. So it was easier to use the intensity zones. On the bike training, I was using that because it was quite more reliable than my heart rate. And it was so different from when I was running and training on the bike. I did a lot of interval training normally during the week and the weekdays, and in the weekend I then did my distance training for longer times. I had a performance test, usually every 6 to 8 weeks, to check that I was racing or training in my right intensity zones and how it should feel. I had always also in my training program, I had all the intensity zone, but also the watt or the speed when I was running or heart rate. So I couldn't figure out how to do the best. My test was typically a 20 minutes bike test with some warm-up and then 5 minutes to get my heart rate up to near the maximum, and then 20 minutes all out and see my average watt to get the training zones for the bike. For the run, I did 5 times 1,000 meters run test with about 90 seconds break, I think. And for the swimming, I did a 1,000 meter broken swim test, which means that I started swim 400 meters, had a short break, 300s, short break, 200s, until I reached 1,000 together. So it was usually how I used my training and the way we did it. I'd like to show you a training program. It was the spring last year, just coming up to the Ironman I did in August. And I'll try to explain. Oh, I first had the training zones. It's taking, you see, from 0 to 10, and it's made by also like a Borg scala and a modification of Borg scala to use. So you also have the numbers and how it should fill the perception of exertion. So I learned that it was somehow easier for me to use those intensity zones than the heart rate. Does this give meaning? Great. And this was a typical training week for me. I had an endurance swim Monday morning. It could be a warm-up, 4 times 50 meter easy, and 20 seconds break. 2 times 50 meters with a kickboard, the flamingo plate, just lying and use the legs. And then the main part of the training was 8 times 50 meters with a pull buoy to train to use the arms, not the legs. And then a 50 meters cool down, easy swim. Then I usually go to school or work, and in the afternoon I did my bike training. Warm up 20 to 30 minutes, always do the warm up. We have also talked about it today with after getting a new heart and get the flow. I had the watts you see and the beat per minute heart rate. I always used that. In the main, I had 2 times 45 in the blue zone, which means something about my race pace when I was doing races. And it was 167 to 198 watts. And then I had a cool down. Tuesday, it was a long intervals run, 20 minutes warm up. And the main was the yellow zone. It's a bit harder than blue zone. And my speed was 4:31 to 4:52 minutes per kilometer with the 3 minutes break. And I started doing that with 12 minutes, 3 minutes break, 10 minutes, 3 minutes break, 8 minutes break, and 6 minutes. And then a cool down. And then I didn't do a lot of strength training with weights or anything during this training. I did it on the bike instead. So I had the strength bike session, which means 3 times 12 minutes blue zone, but it was with, you can see the cadence is 4 to 50. So it's really, really low and really, really hard. When I do normal training on my races, it was around 90 rounds per minute. And 1 hour of Pilates as well. Then short intervals, 5 times 5 minutes in red zone. It's the second toughest zone. You can also see the VAT from 233 to 264, and the heart rate is up at the almost 90% up above with 5 minutes break. So it was a lot different kind of intervals, both the long and the short. And it goes on. In the weekend at Sunday, typically I had the training with both bike and running to train the off-bike session and going from the bike to the run. And it might be 2.5 hours on the bike and then 50 minutes on the run afterwards. So a lot of training, yeah. Any guess on how many hours this was? Without starting to count.
11:75.
Sorry?
11 hours.
Yeah, exactly. So this was almost 12 hours a week. So the question also about how many hours do you need to train to do an Ironman? Did you think it was more or less if you had to complete an Ironman? Typically, I trained 9 to 12 hours a week for my training to the Ironman. So it actually doesn't, you actually doesn't need so many hours. You see people train for 15 or 20, 25 hours, but it's all about how you do it. I had a coach, a guy named Alexander Markovic, former pro triathlete, and also has different professionals, athletes, runners, bikers, swimmers. He has made this program for me, changed every month. And this was on the website, in a calendar. Every time I did my training session, I had to go in, maybe upload the file from my watch and type in how did it go, how was I motivated, all that kind of stuff. It was following my weight, my sleep. So we kept track of all those informations to make sure that it was okay and spoke to each other about how does it go, and if I had a training session which I felt like, oh, it was not good, or the motivation was going a bit down, we just talked about it, learned about it, and kept going. Yeah? I started 2 years before the Ironman, and we also talked a little bit for setting a goal and how long time do you need to train. I think it's important to set a goal and put a timetable to it, but it also have to be realistic. You can use, there are some different models for setting goals. Example, the SMART model. I don't know if you guys know that. Yeah, we use it a lot in physical therapy. It's good to set some goals. This was the last couple of months before the Ironman. I started a bit lower with not too many hours and kept going. I made it was actually on a vacation. We were sitting on a restaurant. I was telling Josephine that in 2015 I want to do an Ironman, and she was just sitting staring at me. I started, my first triathlon was in 2012, a short distance with 400 meters swim, 18 kilometers bike, and 4 kilometers run. It was my first triathlon. And then kept going, and in the beginning I was also thinking about, oh, it would be nice to run a marathon, but this, the Ironman is the new marathon. That's just how the way it is. So it was an Ironman, and I started with setting the goal that the first year I would do a half distance Ironman, and I did a lot of races, always to keep track of my shape and also to test the body and make sure that I could do it, and everything was under control. Yeah. Do I have, yeah, no? Any questions?